If you guys want one-on-one training, online training, or nutritional coaching, please head on over to my website, jpfitnesspro.com. Just go to the services tab and select which one you would like. You can also subscribe to my newsletter and contact me through my website as well. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the notification bell so you never miss a video. Thanks.
What is up, you guys? JP here. Today I'm going to give you one tip to increase your max bench press in a relatively short amount of time in the grand scheme of things. Now, it may not be something that's going to help you within a day, but it's something that's going to help you in a couple of weeks or months versus other things that may take a lot longer to help increase your bench press, like adding on muscle mass. I'm going to preface this video by saying a lot of this info is coming from the website Stronger by Science, primarily ran by Greg Nuckols. It's a really good website. I'm not affiliated with the website or anything. I just wanted to give a shout out to them because it has a lot of good information. So definitely check out his website if you guys want to learn a lot of new things. But this video, the tip is primarily going to be about bar path. So a lot of people don't focus on bar path in regards to the bench press. They just unrack the bar, they lower it to somewhere around mid-chest. Typically, they usually don't think about it, and then they just raise the bar, press it away from them. It's not something, most people don't give it a second thought. The furthest that people think about bar path is they just don't do a guillotine press, which is they don't bring their arms straight out and lower the bar straight to like their upper chest neck, because most people know that that's unsafe. If you're completely new, you may not know that. I did a video about that like a month and a half ago, but essentially you don't want to do a guillotine press, but that's besides the point. But when it comes to the path of the bar during a bench press, most people don't think about it. But first we got to talk about moment arms. Is that when you have the same load, let's just say we keep the load constant, and we have a longer moment arm, there is going to be more torque at that joint, which is going to make the lift harder. This is easiest explained by a lateral raise. If we're doing a lateral raise, the further the weight gets away from you, you're increasing that moment arm, even the load is staying the same, which is going to increase the torque at the shoulder joint. So there's two things that's going to affect the moment arm in a bench press, and that's going to be grip width. I'll show you right here, is that when you have a wider grip on the bench press, you're increasing the moment arm in relation to the shoulder joint when you go wider. And the second thing that's going to affect the moment arm length is going to be how far the bar is this way in relation to you. So a wider grip, longer moment arm, longer moment arm. And you can also tell using this, you can tell that the moment arm is longer and that there's more torque at the shoulder joint when you do these two things. Is just all you have to do is unrack the bar on a bench press, unrack the bar and slowly move the bar in front of you this way, and you're going to feel it harder and harder and harder to keep the bar up. That's a perfect explanation, and you can do that with anyone. It's just physics. It's what's going to happen. So when you're lowering the bar, typically when you're lowering the bar, it's not as important, but when you're pushing the bar away, since we know that wider grip and the bar being this way increases torque at the shoulder joint, it's going to make the lift harder. When you're pressing the bar back up, since we want to make the lift as efficient as possible. We're not trying to purposely make the lift harder. And again, this is specifically in regards to getting stronger, strength. So we're talking about numbers here. We want to get greater load. So we're talking about efficiency during a lift. So we want to make the lift easier. So what you do is we want to drive the bar back as soon as possible, because when the bar is this way, like I said earlier, the moment arm is longer and there's more torque at the shoulder joint. So the sticking point for a bench press is right above the chest, the entry to above the chest. So anyone who does bench press, when you're pressing the bar away from you, right off the chest, it starts to slow, and then it starts to go faster because you passed that sticking point. So what you want to do is, again, driving the bar this way as soon as possible is going to shorten the moment arm, which is going to decrease the torque at the shoulder joint and the muscle groups that work at the shoulder joint to get flex the shoulder, and then to also horizontally flex the humerus is going to be the chest, and it's going to be the front delt or the delts. So what that's going to happen is total overall torque is going to be less, so the lift is going to be easier. But since the load is going to be, and since we're pushing the bar back this way more, the load is going to be more shoulder horizontal flexion dominant. So it's going to put more emphasis on the chest, less emphasis on the delts. The delts are still going to be into play though. But overall, the lift is going to be easier because there's less torque at the shoulder joint. You're not making the lift unnecessarily harder. So let me show you how that looks. So what happens is people will unrack the bar, and then they lower the bar, and they usually don't think about where the bar is going in relation to the lift. They'll just press it up like this. But if you notice where the bar is going, it kind of looks like an inverted J. Most people press the bar up first before driving the bar back. So they'll press up, and then it kind of goes like this. So it goes up and then back. What that's doing is, throughout this initial movement right here, which obviously this is a bar, this isn't going to be hard, but this is where the sticking point would be. So what happens is novice lifters are keeping the torque highest during the hardest part of the movement, which is what you don't want to do. Elite lifters, and again, they've measured this, they've seen this, the bar path on graphs by using devices, is what elite lifters do is they press the bar back closer to them first, so that torque is lower during the lift, and during the hardest part of the movement, they're making the lift easier for them. So again, they're taking the weakest part of the lift, which is that sticking point, and they're making it easier by driving the bar back more this way before going straight up. So again, they're taking, you got to think of the entire range of motion of the bench press. Think of it like this. Each range of motion is going to be like, you can break it up, this part, this part, this part, this part, and this part. Let's just say we took it and split it up into six parts of the range of motion. Each person equate them to like a guy in a group, okay? The sticking point is going to be the weakest guy in the group, okay? You don't want to make the lift hard for the weakest guy in the group. You want to make it easy for the weakest guy in the group. And when you go straight up first instead of back first, you're keeping the lift harder. You're making it harder for yourself. So to wrap this all up, if you want to minimize torque at the shoulder joint and you want to make the bench press more efficient, when you press up on the bench press, you want the bar to go back first and then up. So it should look like back, up, not up and then back. That's going to make the lift more efficient, and it's just going to make it so that you can press more weight within a couple weeks, a couple months. It shouldn't take you a long time to press more if you start doing this. They have apps and devices that measure bar path. You can actually look at this. You could have someone record you and then use these apps to see a line like a graph, or you could just have a friend look at you and record you, and you can kind of just do it by eye if you can't find an app. But I recommend you do record yourself, even if you're just looking at yourself with your eye, or use an app to see how your bar path is. And if it's the bad example, like I showed you, straight up and then back, try to get it so it's back and then up. So you want to drive back and then up as soon as possible, so you get a more efficient lift and you can lift more over the long run. It may take a little bit for you to get used to doing it this way though. It's not going to be an immediate results thing. It could be, but it's not an absolute guarantee. But if you can master this, I am 99.999% sure that you're going to be able to lift more weight. Now, one thing to note, and Greg did mention this in the article for this, and it's the first thing that I thought about before when I started reading it. It popped in my head, but then it got addressed as I was reading it, because it's the first thing I thought about. One of you may be thinking that, well, what happens if I just go, if that's increasing the torque on the shoulder joint by going this way, why do I go that way at all? Why don't I just go straight down like a guillotine press? And I highly suggest you watch my video about the guillotine press, but I'll sum it up very quickly, is that when you go straight out with your arms, you're taking the muscle through a very large range of motion. And when you go past a certain range of motion per a muscle group, the muscle fibers can't contract optimally to be able to exert force on whatever load you're using. So you might be making the actual MOMA arm shorter by doing that, but the muscle fibers are in a less optimal position to contract. So you have to kind of think of the grand scheme of things here. And also too, that can be really detrimental to the shoulder joint by just doing a guillotine press, because again, taking joints through extreme ranges of motion can hurt them as well. If you guys have any questions, comments, please post them down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.